Good afternoon, and thank you very much for allowing the time to join us today. My name is Charles Scott. Welcome to this month's Civil Designer Software Open Classroom webinar. In today's Advanced Roads Design webinar, I'm going to be joined by Andrew Cole, based in our Cape Town office, who has been a part of the knowledge base team nearing on 18 years now, and is very well known by our clients in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and Namibia. During Andrew's presentation, please feel free at any stage to use the text chat service on your GoToWebinar app or webpage to ask us any questions you may have. Andrew, it's been great working with you again. Please take it away.
Thanks, Charles, and welcome everyone to this month's Civil Designer Open Classroom. We're going to be looking at the Words module's section menu today. I have covered a few of these section menu functions in a previous webinar, so I'll mainly focus on the ones that I haven't covered yet. But I will, however, briefly recap on the ones I did previously for those of you that might have missed that previous webinar. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so we're looking at this road section menu, which allows you to view and edit your road cross sections. Okay, I'm going to work through them in the sequence that they are as far as possible. I might have to jump around a little bit. But starting off with this section graphical edit. The section graphical edit function allows you to view your cross sections and to edit them if necessary. So I'm just going to go graphical edit. Okay, so you've got two choices here. You can press escape to go to the start chainage of the road, or you can select a particular cross section or chainage along the road, which I'm going to do. And then you can view the cross section at that particular chainage. There are quite a few additional settings that can be set from the toolbar, starting with the line settings. So I can activate additional cross-section layers. I can set the active line. That would be the layer that you can edit or make changes to. You can activate your longitudinal grade to see if your road, according to your chainage direction, is climbing or falling. And then there's also this cut fill indicator. The cut fill indicator's got a tolerance. So mine set currently to 3 meters. So as soon as we go higher or deeper than 3 meters in cut and fill, then that would be indicated with this red pen. I'm just going to use those settings for now, just to show you what that looks like. So you can see over here, this section over here in cut, we're deeper than 3 meters. So it indicates that in red, or flags it for you that it stands out. And then on the left, you've got your fill over here, which is less than 3 meters. Okay. But as soon as you page down or page up the road, and once you go deeper than 3 meters in the side in cut, and that side as well in cut, then that would be flagged. Okay, so just to show you this graphical edit, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove these berms over here. So we are in cut, we don't need to spend additional money just constructing that berm in this case. So what I would do then, I would remove those points. So there are a couple of ways to do it. The one is to use this component panel over here. Component panel would allow you to go to the left, cut and fill conditions. And I can actually then come in here and delete some of those additional cut fill elements. So for example, right click, delete, and you'll see they are actually then being removed. The slope is still intact, however. Okay, so that would be one way of editing in this component panel. And remember that component panel would allow you to also add in new components, for example, add a cross section. But for now, today, I just want to show you how you can then delete points on a cross section. So you've got various options here on a right click. Those are also duplicated over here in the toolbar. So what I need to do, I want to delete those points, but now I need to create a point over here at this intersection. So on a right click, there is a line intersection function. So I'm going to use line intersection. So two lines that I want to select, that line, this line, and you'll see that a new point then has been inserted at this position. So that would then be my bank line. And then what I can do, I can then go and delete these additional points over here. So one thing that's very important, but which I have preset already, is in those line settings, you need to make sure that the active line that you're deleting the points is set correctly. So I have set it to line 2. Again, you see when I page down that the program then asked me to if I wanted to save those changes. So yes, I did. The other cross section that I wanted to change was that one, just a little bit further on. I'm paging in the wrong direction, so I have to page up. The page down is to go in increasing chain each direction, but I'm actually going backwards on this road, so I need to go page up down to this chain each 3040. Okay, and the same thing over here. I'm just going to use that same editing functionality to remove this berm over here. So once again, just need to insert a point over there, which will be my new batter slope. So I'm going to go to line intersection, select this line, that line. So that additional point has been inserted at the intersection of those two lines. And now I can go right click, delete point, and delete all those unnecessary points. And remember, that is on the active line. You can also go to those line settings with a right click and then go to layer details. So you can see the active line is line 2, which relates to these numbers over here. And on line 2, I've got my final road design layer, okay, which is that one in black, in the black pen. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to escape out of that function. Let's close these cross-section windows just to show you how the plan view will now update. Okay, so those cross-sections have been taken into account and the plan view has updated accordingly. Okay, so that was the section graphical editing that I've just touched on briefly. As I mentioned earlier, I have done a bit more on this in a previous webinar, so I don't want to spend too much time on the graphical editing. But yeah, you can always go right click, have a look at some of these additional functions, polygon areas, measuring function, additional settings here in the layer details, crossing surfaces, fixtures, slopes that you can display, etc. Okay, so quite a lot of additional functionality available. And then the toolbar on the left here, we've got additional editing functions. Maybe just to mention this move section, which allows you to move your design layer relative to a base layer to optimize your cut and fill. So you can basically move it and that cross section would recalculate. We do have an automated optimize, cross-section optimize function, and you could also utilize that to balance your cut and fill. Generally, you would do that with your vertical alignment and edit that. Because with this editing, we don't actually tie these changes back into your vertical alignment. So the only way to do that would be to run a regression with the vertical and re-extract it from the cross-section data. Okay, so as I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just something to bear in mind, I'm not going to keep those changes, is that our volume calculations use our cross-sectional areas, so the adjusted cross-sectional areas from all these edited cross-sections would be used in a mass or volume calculation, for example. And then the plotting of cross-sections, long sections come directly from the cross-section data as well. So no need to worry about these changes that you're making physically would be reflected in your volume results, your mass or volume results, and your cross sections or long sections that you're plotting. Okay, so I think that's enough for the graphical edit function. Okay, so the next section menu item we're going to look at is the list sections, which would allow you to output your offsets and elevations from your alignment for any road layer. So generally that would be used for exporting your road edge levels and coordinates to give to your contractor. Okay, so I'll try that in this example. So what we'll do is we're first going to go, before we list the sections, I'm going to transfer, so using the transfer points function. So I'm going to use my design layer and I'm going to store this to a separate layer. So I'm just going to use layer 10, for example. Okay, so I'm going to use point location codes. And remembering these dialogues, you can either define the area that you want to work in with an offset from the center line or our point location codes. For those of you that are not aware of our point location codes, basically from your center line, each cross-section point is numbered from 0 on the center line to 99 at the road edge. And then we do have some special PLC codes for your medium point, road edge point, back of curve at the medium and the road edge, etc. Okay, so the point location codes are quite useful and generally have been superseded by string names these days as far as editing and displaying of your road lines go, but still good to be aware of the point location codes. Okay, and in this case, the point location code we're going to use is the road edges. Okay, so just the actions here, we can add points. So that's if they're existing points, we're adding to them on a cross-section layer. Overwrite would be delete what's already there, add the new points, and then merging would be to merge the points, the new points into what's already there, almost like a terrace merge. And I'm doing the whole chainage range, so overwrite should work in this case. And then I'm going to list just my road edge data. So it's left road edge, the negative road edge, and my positive road edge as well. So I'm listing this to layer 10. Okay, so let's have a look. The section graphical edit. We'll just have a look at those points on layer 10. So I'm going to switch that on. Let me just, I have to switch off some of these. I can switch off the final design layer, switch off the layer works. Okay, so basically those are the points. So we've got our road edges and we've got our center line. We've copied the final design data from your final road level layer. We've copied that onto a new layer. Okay, layer 10, so we still want to keep our road design layer intact. So we're just going to be listing the information, all the information on that layer 10. So that takes us then to that section, list section function that we would like to look at. Okay, and then remember we have to set the layer, in this case layer 10. There are a couple of list type options here. The normal is just to list everything on a single layer. The offsets and elevations are listed on a single line. The double option over here list two layers information. So it could be, for example, when you want to compare two layers that you're calculating volumes on, for example, you can check them side by side. And then the compacted is the normal listing, but just in a compacted format. So basically multiple offset elevation pairs per line, just so it's in a compact format. You can use it for archiving redundant data. Okay, so I'm just going to do the normal for now so we can see what that looks like. Just to a screen output. The benefit of the individual listing, so let's have a look here. So at each station now, I've got the left and right offset, and in this case we've got the offset elevation pair and we've got the coordinate. So that's something you could then give to your contractor. There is another way to output your data. You can select a string road, right click, go road operations, and then write out a string to a CSV file. I've already written out the left road edge, so let's go right road edge. So at this stage, you can then select which road string you want to output the information for. So in this case, my right road edge. And then we can have a look at that file. Actually, I've already sorted the left road edge into nice columns. It's a CSV file, so this is basically the format. This was the one I did earlier, the left road edge. So chain edge, your y, x, z coordinates, and then your offset for, in this case, left road edge. And then the other one would be the right road edge. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next section function, the enter edit sections. And to show you this particular function, I'm going to move on to this different project, this MR496 project. Okay, so the enter edit sections, let's get back there, allows you to edit your cross-section data in a tabular spreadsheet format as opposed to using that graphical editing or some of the other section editing functions. And then for roads done with the traditional cross-section method, you can identify or edit your point location codes and IDs. IDs are generally a specific number assigned to a cross-section point, and then use those IDs and point location codes for displaying plan lines in your plan plots or plotting specific levels, for example, on a cross-section. Okay, so in this particular case, let me just show you the template for this road. Template paths. This is a dual carriageway template. Okay, and what we're looking at is this particular template has got an ID assigned to it. So if you go to the median over here, the median's got a drain. In the middle of the dual carriageway, there's a V drain. And you can see that line is assigned an ID number, so it's that ID1. Okay, so in this case, we know what it is, but generally you could actually go to that section, enter edit section, and select the correct design layer, which is, in this case is the finished road levels layer. And we can have a look at the V drain ID number. Okay, so in this case, you can see there at an offset of 150 from the alignment, that ID1 is your V drain center line. Okay, and then you can also see which offsets are specific point location codes. So those PLCs, the edge of road, the back of curb, the median, so those special PLC codes that we looked at earlier. Okay, so basically this enter edit sections allows you to insert additional lines, delete specific lines. I'll show you an example of deleting a cross-section point or elevation pair in the next example I've got. Okay. So basically there, if you wanted to display the V drain, for example, in your plan view, you would need to go to your display settings, to the plan layout lines, and then we'd activate an additional line to plot, and we'd then set the positioning with a right click here to an ID. Okay, so there's three options. Traditionally with these cross-section roads was the offset, point location code, the PLC, or an ID, and then that ID would be number 1. Okay, and then we're plotting that line. The program will pick it up with the ID number and then position it in the plan view. Okay, so you can see there the middle of your V-drain has been plotted. I can just show you on the newest strings roads. So this particular road, same as that other project MR496. This is now a string-based road. So remember, we can toggle between a cross-section and a string road, swap between the two at any stage. You can see there's that V drain in the median of the dual carriageway road. Okay, but what I wanted to mention here was that in the display for a string road, if you go to this plan layout, for the plan lines that you'd like to display, you've got these string names. So the more sort of modern, up-to-date way of doing it is just selecting from the available string names that you want to then plot. Okay, in this case, I've actually just got the shading on, so it's actually just showing the road shading. Okay, then just getting back to that section enter edit functionality, I'm just going to go to this project over here. Okay, and then we're looking at that section enter edit sections. The reason I want to show you this enter edit on this project is that there is some issue at a few cross sections. So if I go to my section graphical edit and select, I'm just going to go to, I just want to show you more or less in the area that it is. Okay, this is a road rehabilitation project. I'll actually get back to this later if we have time. So a couple of challenges with this design. But the main reason I want to show it to you now is at chainage, I think it's 3170. You can see 3170 is 3175. My cross section disappears. So if I go back there, I just click, remember you can do R to redraw. You can see there's some issue here with this cross section. So some lines are jumping down. So it's very tricky to fix that here in the cross section editor. But if you go into that enter edit section, you can then actually see any anomalies or levels that don't look right. Okay. So let's have a look at that. So I'll go to section and enter edit section. Okay, so this is our design layer we're looking at. Layer 2. And then I'm going to go search for that chainage. So it was 3170. Again, then you click on the find button. And if we look at those offsets and elevations on the design layer, you'll see these elevations here are the problem. So there you've got your 0, your center line level, your left road edge, right road edge. So these two lines here, I can delete that line as well as this one. Okay. So I'm going to save that and then go to this 3175. It's just those two that I wanted to see. So once again, just the elevations are way outside the actual elevations that the road has been designed at. So select that, delete that line, delete this line, and save. Okay, and then we can exit. And then just to verify, we can then go back to that section, graphical edit. I use my G shortcut to go back to 3.1. Let's go to 3.160. Just page down again. 3.165, 3.170, 3.175. Okay, so that looks a lot better. And I'll be happy that I've sorted out those particular cross sections. Okay, so just another advantage of using that section and to edit sections. Okay, the next section menu item we're going to look at is the interpolate function, which means to add new points on an existing cross section. So those would be points of interest if you want to plot a long section at a particular point, or for our example, we're going to be inserting new points and creating a new cross section. So just to show you what I'm doing, so we've got a cross section with existing road portion only having 400 mils removed, and then on this section, the widening section, they need to remove 700 millimeters of material. So we're going to have to insert some points on a cross section, and then we have to kink them up to get this profile, the box profile at the bottom here. Okay, so the project we're going to use for this is this wall bed that I used previously. I'm just going to use a different zoom view. Remember, you can use and create different viewports, define named viewports, and then zoom into those sections. So this is the one named viewport that I added, and very useful to manage the areas that you're working in, as well as to obviously use viewports in your layouts. Okay, so let me just have another look at that cross section that we're going to be working with. If I go to section graphical edit, basically what we want to do, let me just go and switch on. Let me switch off some of these additional lines that we used earlier. Switch on my layer works for now. Okay, so we're going to have a cross section and we need to kink it up. Okay, so basically what I need to do, firstly I need to insert subgrade lines. Let's just see, I don't think I've got a subgrade line now. So to insert that subgrade line and have it intersect with the batters, I'm going to use a section function, which is solidify layerworks, which we will hopefully have time to touch on again later. So in this case, just the last layerwork. So solidify layerworks creates cross-section layers for your pavement layers. So all your additional pavement layers, you can then create additional full cross-section layers. So for example, over here we're going last layer work, and then I want to intersect with the batters, as I need that cross-section to run right through in this case. I see that the start chainage is set to 0, so I'm just going to set that to the correct start chainage, which I know off by heart. Okay, and then we're intersecting with batters, last layer work, can run that solidify layers. Okay, so in this case, just creating a new cross-section layer for the bottom layer work, a pavement layer. Okay, and then we can view that. So then it's section, graphical edit, select the chainage that I want to view. So this cross-section, you can see now that bottom pavement layer, we've created a totally separate cross-section, which is intersecting with the batters and runs across the remainder of the design cross-section the batters, and then that depth of the bottom pavement layer below the final design layer. Okay, so what we need for our example here, that interpolate, I'm going to add 2 additional points here, the road edges, similar positions to the road edges, and I need 2 so that I can kink up with the 1 point as we had in that example drawing. So I'm just going to close the cross-section window, and then I'm going to go to that section interpolate now. Okay, so we're working on layer 6, and in this case we want to add points and store them back to layer 6. Okay, and we're going to use offsets from the center line to position those new kink points that I need, the whole chainage range. Let me add the offsets. So I'm going to be adding negative 3.11, negative 3.1, and then 3.11 on the positive side, and 3.1. Okay, so that's 10 millimeters apart, and then I'm just going to kink it up in the middle of those 2 points. And we're adding points, so they're just going to be added to the existing cross section. If we have a look at that. So if I zoom into that area, so you can see this is that 3.1 and 3.11 away from the center line, the negative points and then the positive points that I've added. So to get that lift in the middle here, I'm going to use the absolute change function to lift up those points by a certain value. Okay, so to lift those points, I'm going to use this section absolute change function, which allows you to move points vertically or horizontally by a constant, or with an increasing or decreasing amount if you need to create some sort of taper. Okay, so let's have a look. Absolute change. So we're working on that layer 6, processing those points, storing the information back to layer number 6, and then we're adding or just editing those points. The offset we're going to use to position or to define the area that we want to work with, and it's the whole chainage range that we're working on. Okay, and then we want to add the value as a constant, and then those offset limits, I'm going to make it negative 3.105. So it's got to move that point at 3.1, but not the point at 3.11. So the left limit that I'm working to processing the points is that negative 3.105. And then on the right side, it's 3.105. Okay, so we're only processing the points between that 3.105 on the left and 3.105 on the right. So only those points are going to be affected by this absolute change. We applying the change to the elevation. I'm just going to make it 200 at the start chainage and 0.2 at the end chainage. So you could have a chainage range where you introduce a 0 start and a different amount at the end to create some sort of taper, like a vertical taper, or it could also possibly be a horizontal taper if you're working with the offsets. Okay, so we're lifting those 3.1 points, and the 3.11 offset points are going to remain intact. Okay, so I'm just running it quick. That's that junction again. Okay, so let's have a look at that cross section now, how it's changed. Okay, so there you can see that inside the 2 inside points within that 3.105 range on each side have been lifted up the 200 mils across the whole chainage range. Okay, So that's basically how that absolute change works, and you could also do a horizontal change, so move a point horizontally by a certain amount. Okay, so we've looked at the section editing, the road section editing menu today, which ideally would allow you to tweak your cross sections like we did with those berms, just to get to a final design that you're happy with, and then also to get your calculations, your volume, mass or volume calculation to what it should be. So some custom cross sections to work out more detailed volumes. Okay, so I was hoping to cover a few additional functions on that section menu today, but I think we've run out of time for this particular open classroom, so I think we'll leave that for next time. I trust that today's webinar was informative, and until next time, cheers from me, and back to you, Charles.
Thank you very much, Andrew. That was once again very informative. If you enjoyed today's webinar, please visit our website where, under the services menu on our webinars page, you'll find a list of our last 84 webinars. And by late this afternoon, we would have posted a link to today's event. While here, please also visit our FAQ library page, where we have posted around 500 short, searchable videos created from our webinar series. This has become a very popular online support resource. Once again, thank you very much for allowing the time to join us today. Please follow our company page on LinkedIn if you have not done so already, where we post our latest customer civil designer project showcase stories, relevant industry news, and new civil designer software tech tip videos. Please have a great afternoon, weekend when it arrives, and goodbye for now.